Hello and welcome to today's Middle East Report. In this programme today we'll be discussing the battle for truth and how the political tide is turning in Israel's favour in Scotland. Welcome to the programme. In this programme today we're talking about the battle for truth that is taking place regarding Israel in Scotland and how that tide is now turning in Israel's favour. And I'm joined today by Sammy Stein, who is the chairman of Glasgow Friends of Israel. Sammy, welcome back to the Middle East Report. It's about a year ago since you were last.
Thank you very much, Simon. It's a delight to be back and speak with you because a lot has happened since the last time I was here.
Absolutely.
And people need to know about it.
And what's really good is that Glasgow Friends of Israel have just celebrated their first anniversary. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to everyone involved up in Glasgow, because I know you're all doing a great job.
Well, we didn't think we would survive a year. Certainly many other people didn't think we would survive a year. And in July we had our first birthday with regards to our street stall, which we have in Buchanan Street every Saturday. And we get many people coming by and coming back to speak to us about the truth regarding Israel and the Middle East.
Fantastic. And Sammy, for our viewers that, and maybe even for myself as well, I think you've got such an incredible Jewish heritage that you were born in Tel Aviv in the Mandate years, prior to the re-establishment of the State of Israel in 48. That you're Scottish and yet you're more Israeli than you probably are Scottish. So can you just share with us your unique Jewish heritage and the story of your family, because it is incredible.
When I'm on the stall, I tell people that I was actually born a Palestinian, which surprises lots of people because they think Palestinians are only Arabs. In fact, Palestinians are people who lived in Palestine when it was Palestine. So I was born in 1946. And when I was 2 years old in 1948, I became an Israeli citizen. So I started off as a Palestinian, and when I tell people that, they get very puzzled about how that's possible. So I lived in Israel till I was about 10 years old. In 1957, my parents decided to come to Scotland, and I came with my parents, and I've been in Scotland ever since, except a period when I went back to Israel, and I did my military service in Israel for 5 years. But now I live in Scotland, my family's in Scotland, and I'm, I suppose, half Scottish and half Israeli. Excellent,
which is a great combination. I have to ask you, what are the unique challenges facing Israel up in Scotland, in particular Glasgow, in comparison to, say, different parts of the UK?
Well, Scotland, to some extent, has got its own political differences with regards to the country trying to be independent. And to some extent, that could be an advantage because Israel is a small country. Scotland is a small country. They've got a lot of things in common. And if we can bring some of these common things together, then I think Scotland and Israel can become closer together. So that's the good side. On the bad side, we have a very aggressive and vile organization called the Scottish Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, who are out there on a regular basis basically demonizing Israel and demonizing the people of Israel and demonizing Jewish people in general. And they, I think, pretend to be anti-Israel, but many of them, I believe, are anti-Semitic.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about them a bit more later in the programme. But like I said in the intro, Glasgow Friends of Israel is now 1 year old, and you're in your second year. Can you tell us the reasons why you established the organisation and the impact it's having on the streets of Glasgow, and also being able to communicate Israel's message of peace to the citizens and visitors of Glasgow?
Firstly, Glasgow Friends of Israel is one of a dozen groups in Scotland called the Friends of Israel, which have been started mainly by Nigel Goodrich. But we just happen to be the largest group in Scotland, and we are to some extent unique because most of the Jewish people in Scotland live in Glasgow. So we have a very balanced group between Jewish people and Christian people, and I think that's one of the strong points that we have. Most of the other groups in Scotland tend to be mainly Christian because there's no Jewish community where they are. And the advantage of having this type of non-denominational group is that when people come to the stall, they say things like, well, I expect you to be a supporter of Israel because you're Jewish. And I say, yeah, I'm Jewish, but Jean over there is not Jewish, and Thomas over there is not Jewish, and Andrew over there is not Jewish, and many of our members are not Jewish. So this is not a Jewish organization. This is an organization of people who have a heart for Israel and love Israel.
And also incredible commitment as well, to actually come out and give up a Saturday to set up your stall, talk to people in the streets, which is not easy, and then just to tell the truth about Israel's situation. So it's an incredible commitment, isn't it, made by you and all the other volunteers.
Well, you know how wonderful the weather is in Glasgow, so it's really quite pleasant to go out on a Saturday and speak to people in the street. But we are there both winter and summer, and over the past 15 months, there have only been about 2 or 3 Saturdays that we haven't been on the street, mainly due to the weather. Even if it's a particularly wet day, we would go out in the rain and we would stay for as long as it's possible to actually speak to people, because the objective is to speak to people in the street. If it's very wet, people do not stop and chat with you, so you have to make a decision. Do I wait for the weather to change and get better, or is it going to be really bad today and we should just shut up shop? So last Saturday, for example, it was a very wet day, but we were there in the street till after 1 o'clock. We spoke to loads of people, but then we decided to give up. But as you said, there is a large group of people that come to the stall, not necessarily every week, but we have a fairly strong group of over 20 to 30 people, and they all come when they can, for as long as they can. And that's quite good because people get a rotation, and people, the public comes back to the stall often to talk to us because they like what they hear, and they get to meet different people, which is also very, very good.
Fantastic. And also you are probably like Sussex Friends of Israel as well, through their counter demonstrations against the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign trying to ban, I think it was the Israeli SodaStream store. And
yes.
they stood there week after week after week, and they developed such a strong bond and friendship between them all that were able to do so much work in terms of advocating for Israel.
Well, we work closely with Sussex Friends of Israel and also the Northwest Friends of Israel. We share a lot of information, we share a lot on the Facebook page, and we try and help each other right across the UK. And when you work together, you get a much better chance of achieving your goal. We don't want to work in isolation. We want to work as much as possible with all the other groups and do what we can to help each other.
Absolutely. But as a Jewish person, Sammy, what does it mean to have such strong Christian support? But to have the Christians coming out, standing with you? And there would have been a period in time where that would have just seemed impossible. But thankfully today, that is now a reality.
It's one of the most heartwarming experiences you can have when you talk to a fellow member of the group who doesn't come at it from the same background as you do. Because what we're trying to show is Israel is not necessarily a Jewish interest. It's an interest for people who love the country, who love what's happening there, and who actually understand what's happening in the Middle East. And they want to tell people about it and talk about it. And they speak from the heart. And that's the difference between what we do and some of the other people on the other side, what they do.
No, I did attend the International Shalom Festival up in Edinburgh, where I saw you, which was great. But I have to talk about the incredible hostility. Now, I know about the BDS, I know about the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, but I've got to honestly say that I have never experienced the vile and sadistic nature carried out by the Scottish Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, especially when I was coming up from the main train station and just walking up the road, and then we had to turn in. So before you actually approach the building, you saw a lot of Palestinian flags, and then saw a heavy police presence. And then as you walked in, they were kind of shouting shame on you with stuff like, you have Palestinian blood on your tickets, shouting out Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, which effectively means genocide. But what experience have you had in dealing with the SPSC, the Scottish Palestinian Solidarity Campaign?
What I'd like to do is just talk about the Shalom Festival first.
Of course.
I think being in the venue and the concert, we couldn't hear the demonstrations outside. But let's not tell them that, because I don't want them to know that they weren't having any effect on the festival. So as far as they're concerned, they were making this enormous noise, but we were having a great time inside, and we didn't hear anything that they were doing or shouting, which is great. But when you walk by, these are vile, vitriolic, aggressive, arrogant people who do absolutely no good for the Palestinians. Now, you look at these people standing in the street, shouting and screaming through megaphones. What are they doing for the Palestinians when they do that? Absolutely nothing. They're doing nothing to help these people who need as much help as possible. We, on the other hand, when we stand at our stall, we tell people that we support both Israelis and Palestinians, and we would like to see a peace settlement for both people. Now, that is actually taking a positive step to help the Palestinians. They are doing absolutely nothing for Palestinians. They're just pretending to like Palestinians. And the question is, what would these guys do if there was peace tomorrow? What would McNapier do if there was peace tomorrow? He'd be out of a job. He'd have nothing to do. So he doesn't want the conflict to end. He wants to extend the conflict. He wants to make it worse so that he can get up in the morning and hate Israelis and Israel, because that is his job. That is what he does. And he's got absolutely no interest in seeing any peace. And he never mentions peace. He only mentions hate